Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's STORMYBMAN, and I am back welcoming you to the Friday night chop session with STORMYBMAN for this Friday, May 7th, 2021. And this is episode number 109, and we are calling this one Put a Ring on It. CANELO versus Billy Joe Saunders, Saturday, May 8th. And I want to welcome everybody that's out there to another Friday night chop session with STORMYBMAN. And we hope to bring you a good show this evening as we begin to talk about what's on cusp of this weekend in the sport of boxing. And we're going to touch on a few things that took place through the week. And this is the kind of thing that it's a build up, and I hopefully it won't be a big letdown. You know what I mean? So with no further ado, we're going to get right down into it. We'll be joined a little bit later by Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. And then I hope to have my man Cadillac Red from Supreme Beast Boxing Talk on here. We were having some audio difficulty. Cadillac, can you hear me now? Can you speak? We still got him on mute, man. We're trying to get the brother off of mute there. I had to get the show started. Couldn't do the troubleshooting on this because he come in very late to the time to start. So, Cadillac, I'm not gonna be able to troubleshoot during the show, bro. We got the show to do. So, I don't know. You might want to fall back into the chat, man. But this is what it's gonna be for right now because Reggie won't be in for another 20 minutes or so, maybe. I want to say peace to everybody that's out there. I know we had a few people that were waiting before the show started, but with it, hopefully everything being good on that side, we can get the show kicked off. I see we've got people out here in the chat writing it up already. We got Sylvester out there, 2011. He says, Stormy, what's going on, bro? Channel member and supporter Taylor Bell is out there. He says, what's up, chat? Salute to Stormy. Chicano Prophet is out there, says salute to Stormy in the chat. He said, here's hoping Canelo's performance this weekend puts him back in the Thunderous top 10. That's a heck of a wish there, Chicano Prophet, because he ain't gonna make it. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And we got Thrill Hill out there. He says salute Stormy B. Don Shotter 24 is out there, says salute to you. And we got Rashid Rourke out there, says peace my brother, the Wiseman STORMYBMAN. Rashid Rourke says peace to everyone, and Supreme Beast is out there in the chat. Yeah, Cadillac, that's one of my pet peeves that, you know, a lot of guys like to jump on at the last minute and stuff like that, but Stormy prefer to kind of get things going a little early behind the scenes, just in the event that we run into something like that. And I couldn't hear you at all. Hopefully you could hear me, but when it's like that, the technical problem is on your end. So I'm sorry about that, but we need to get together so we can correct it, so we can get you on here, because I want you on the show. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm sorry that we just had to get it going because I didn't have any time to work on that. So that's the one thing I wanted to say about that. Chicano Prophet is out there laughing. Yeah, no malice intended there, Chicano Prophet. It's just that, hey, man, Canelo, you know, for some of the things that have transpired in his career, along with, you know, popping dirty, along with the gifts that he's received. And when I say gifts, I'm talking about, you know, they created that whole franchise foolishness that has helped destroy the sport even more, because it ain't even really applying to him anymore. It's applying to other people. That whole thing about getting started with that, you know, it's just really put a damper on the sport, along with all the other belts and stuff like that. But I'm here to say that Canelo's a good fighter, but I'm just, I don't think that he could ever break the Thunderous top 10. I don't really, and it's for a myriad of reasons, and it's not a bias. I mean, I could actually state my stipulations, but it's not here. I'm not here to bash Canelo this evening, so just let that be known. And I hope for a good fight this weekend. I hope for a competitive fight. But as we get ready to get on into the show, that's one of the things that will be on the docket to talk about. But we're going to open up talking about a few other things that may have seen us get right down into the business of boxing, man. And it's funny because, STORMYBMAN has a sense of humor. And as we... I'm sorry, man. It's just some stuff that I've got on my mind and everything and intend to present to you guys this evening. And I'm really feeling a certain kind of way, feeling in a little bit of a goofy mood, so forgive me. But we will get through this. We will get through this. Earlier in the week, we saw some things happen where the sport of boxing had a chance to see one of its former personalities of glory take to the airwaves. And about the possibility of Floyd Mayweather Jr. returning to the ring against one of the Paul brothers. Now, the funny thing about the Paul brothers, I don't know about these guys a lot. I don't follow what they're doing. I just know that they have been dabbling in boxing and having people, put them on display in the ring for some antics, and they've had some success and people talk about them, but they're not real fighters as far as I'm concerned. But if you see my little thumbnail that I've put up here, this is due to what transpired, yesterday, when they had their little presser, and Floyd Mayweather was standing up there, and Paul, which one was it? It was Jake Paul, Logan Paul, one of them, right? They standing there, and then the other brother come over there and start talking crap, and next thing you know, they snatched Floyd Mayweather's hat off his head, and I immediately was thrown back into my childhood, where if you see this thumbnail just behind me here, Trilogy of Terror. When they took that hat off of Floyd's head, man, I said, oh my God. I said, that's that little creature from that movie that I saw when, as a kid, the woman was trying to kill the creature. She got that little creature and as a gift, and it came to life, and it was chasing her around her house, and she was trying to get away, and he had a spear, and he was going, yeah, 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 yeah. And the lady was running, she was screaming, she tried to put it in the oven. He couldn't kill the doggone thing. And I said, oh my God, that's Floyd. He come back to life. The Trilogy of Terror is Floyd Mayweather Jr. I knew I recognized that dude from somewhere. And there he is right there. I put his picture up there. He just cut his hair down a little bit. But when they took the hat off my man's head, I said, oh, no, there it is right there. The Trilogy of Terror. That's what it is. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Look, man, you can never live this down, bro. You should have stayed away from boxing, huh? You should have stayed away from boxing. You should have left these young guys alone, left them to their own devices. But I'm going to tell you, there it is right there. You think I'm lying? Look here, man. I got a couple of them, huh? Here's an even close up. Huh? Look at him. Is that Floyd? Huh? And there's some other photos that they showed him from the press conference. I was trying to find him, but I couldn't find him. I'm like, that's the Trilogy of Terror, man. Man, I couldn't even sleep last night. That film, when I saw it as a kid, me and my cousins, we laughed about it and we was all scared at the same time, because that little thing right there, I'm going to tell you, man, it was nothing like horror movies back in the 70s, because the special effects was real cheap and cheesy, but they had you falling out all over the place, man, and stumbling over things and running to get out the house, get out the theater, everything. Floyd, there it is right there, the Trilogy of Terror. That's that kid right there. And you know what, man? Why you let him do that? Do you like that, bro? Why you let him take that hat off your head like that? And I know you went and you touched him up and all of that, and you know, but no, man. No, you make too much money to come out there looking like that, man. Huh? You look like Woodrow from the Jeffersons or something coming in there, bro. You know what? All you needed was a brown bag, huh? With that outfit you was wearing. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you. You didn't have to go out like that. You didn't have to. You know, you could have taken the high road. But no, my brother, you came out there and you just, look here, man. No, man. No, you ain't getting away with that one, bro. You ain't getting away with that one. That right there, let me tell you something, man. That's dead on. For those of you guys ain't never seen the movie, because there's a lot of younger people, a lot of younger generations listening to me right now, right? Go look up this movie, Trilogy of Terror. It might even be on YouTube, or you could pick it up on Amazon or something like that. But you got to watch this movie, because it's a trilogy of short stories of scary movies, right? But the one that is most memorable is the one where this creature appeared. A lady got the doll. It was a little pygmy man, about 3 feet tall like this, or 2.5 feet tall. She set it on the table and everything, and he was sitting there like this, you know. He didn't move or nothing. But she went and she laid down in the bed, and the thing wasn't on the table no more. Next thing you know, the thing was peeping around corners in her house and stuff like this. And she was like rubbing her eyes. She was like, what is? And the thing had the spear, and he started chasing her. So when Floyd was going after his hat, he was, give me my hat. Oh, dude, they got you, man. They got you. You remember that guy that used to do those memes talking about, got him? They got Floyd. They got him, boy. Yeah, Rashid Rourke, salute to you. He said we used to call it the Yang Yang doll. Yeah, that little thing. Yeah! That lady tried everything to kill that thing. That doll would not die. And that was way before Chucky. Huh? Chucky ain't got nothing on Trilogy of Terror. The thing had a mullet. Huh? And he had some beads around his neck and a little African tutu thing on. I'm like, man, that was classic right there. And I'm going to tell you something. See, we got VHS, we got DVD, we got Blu-ray, we got all this stuff streaming and everything now, right? Back then, you didn't have that. So it's like when you saw it that one time, you had to wait for it to come on TV again or something. And it was like, you know, long time in between before they show it again. So you might have even gotten a couple of years older next time you see it, right? But the memories from the first time you saw it, man, let me tell you. When I saw Floyd at that press conference yesterday, man, and he broke out into a rage and he was chasing them dudes down, he was mad. He was on 10. Just like the Trilogy of Terror, man. When he came after that lady, I was like, man, I done seen this. I done seen this before. You hear me? I'm like, this is what it is. And I said, man, wait till I talk about this tonight, man. I'm like, these guys don't know. If you guys seen that movie, if you grew up watching that, you know I ain't lying. Huh? If Floyd would have took that outfit he had on off and put that African tutu with a spear in his hand, oh, man, I would have had a heart attack right there. Right then and there, I would have been like, oh, man, that's that thing from my childhood, man. I got to go to the hospital. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, man, you guys have no idea, man. You have no idea. That took me back, huh? And I'm in my mid-50s, man. That took me back. I'm like, I don't believe what I'm seeing, man. How could somebody look like that doll? No, man. No. I'm like, oh my God. Even if Floyd had on his boxing trunks, he would have looked just like that thing. You put a spear in his hand. Man, I was ready to lock my doors and my windows and everything. Boy, keep the lights on. When I went to sleep last night, I'm like, that look like that monster. Man, let me tell you something, bro. That right there. And look at y'all. Ain't nobody smashed the like button, huh? Because I'm talking about your boy Floyd. But, hey, it ain't my fault he the trilogy of terror. Huh? He should have hit. Hey, he got too much money. He should have hit the barber. Huh? Get that little shave and get him some of that black gentleman grooming company. But, see, he cheap, too. See, he think the money just go in his pockets. He ain't trying to put it in nobody else's. Huh? But look at you now. That's what they said in The Godfather. I mean, Scarface, when the dude was talking, you son of a, look at you now, huh? These pictures right here are forever out there on the internet, huh? That's the internet right there. And look what they start doing. They start putting you together with the trilogy of terror. Huh? We don't know which one is Floyd Mayweather Jr. They just, you know, matter of fact, next fight poster, we'll put the trilogy of terror up there and won't put you up there. We'll just put the trilogy of terror up there fighting Jake Paul, Logan Paul, whichever one is going to be. Man, that's crazy, man. Rashid Rowe said, that is funny, Stormy B, man. What made you think of that doll? Floyd made me think of that doll. Dude, I had a immediate... Did you see those pictures? See, this is a side angle, but there was a picture of Floyd where the camera was face on him and he was in a rage. We never saw Floyd look like that before, not even in a boxing match. And I looked at that photo and I was like, that's the trilogy of terror right there, man. That's what he looked like. A savage. Huh? It's like oh, man. And see, I ain't got my man Reggie on here yet to talk about this with me. And Cadillac's audio was messed up, man. It's like, this is ridiculous, though. How do you... I don't even know what to make, man. It's like, that right there... Listen, Stormy might have a few sleepless nights off of this, man. Because that little creature right there, man, it had me going as a kid, bro. It had me going. I ain't lying. I'm telling the truth, man. That thing right there was a savage. It was trying to kill that lady in her own apartment, man. She tried to do everything. She tried to set him on fire. She tried to drown him. That thing kept following her through that apartment, man. You think Chucky was bad. And this thing didn't talk. Chucky would at least talk to you and give you a sense of like there was something going on. All this thing did was go... with that spear, huh? That right there, man. What was that? 1973, Kurt? 1974? Kurt out there in the chat. He know the movie star Karen Black. He said, "Yeah, man. Let me go back into the chat a little bit. I see you guys out there. I just had to, man. That right there, it brought it home for me, man. It brought it home for me. That right there was like, you know, revisiting something really evil from a long time ago, man. I mean, wow. You guys don't know what you was missing when you would see that movie, man. You have no idea. But that thing, man, it was treacherous. Huh? It was treacherous. And it tried to take you out, man. The trilogy of terror, that little beast right there. I'm like, man. So I just had to get that out though. You know what I mean? I had to get it out my system. I'm done with it now, but man, whoa. I don't know why Floyd do that to us, man. I would have never associated him with that creature, but now I'm like, I can't stop unseeing it, bro. I can't stop unseeing it. But yeah, let me go back here to the chat. We got a lot of people laughing out there. Yeah, it was something else, wasn't it? Who we got? I spoke to these brothers already. Kurt is out there laughing too. Hey man, this is the real deal, man. That creature was something else, man. Willie Beecham is out there, a member for the channel. He says, check out yesterday's episode of the 3 Wise Men of Boxing. It's golden. Thank you, Willie Beecham. Thank you for that, bro. Rasheed Rourke says, the ref is taking 1 point for your low blow, Stormy B, man. I don't care if the ref disqualified me, man. Floyd should not have come out there like that and then let that dude take his hat off his head, man. That right there, you know what I was really looking for? I was looking for a clip from that old episode of Sanford and Son when Fred and Esther was arguing and he snatched her wig off her head. Anybody that was a fan of Sanford and Son, when they saw that episode, they was on the floor rolling, man. Esther had a wig on and Fred snatched that wig off her head and her head was planted underneath, braids. That was one of the funniest episodes ever, man. Floyd snatched that woman's wig off, Fred snatched that woman's wig off her head. That's what it took me back to that yesterday, man. It was almost quite similar. You know what I mean? It's like, how you gonna let that happen, man? How you gonna let somebody G your cap off your head like that, man? Some young punk, too. You know what I mean? That's what you get for messing around with them young punks. Because they ain't got no respect for their elders. Not one little ounce of respect. And they had that planned on your butt because they went out there and was selling hats an hour later. I'm telling you, man. You couldn't write this stuff for TV, man. They got him, though. They got him good. You think Floyd still mad, y'all? He gonna be mad after he see these videos. And I know his uncle out there, what's his other uncle? That be around the gym interviewing Jeff Mayweather. No, he gonna be mad too. He gonna be like Stormy B man over there talking about you, Floyd. I'm like, Alice. Can't help it, man. He shouldn't have did it, man. He should have left them young boys alone. Huh? Out there dabbling around. That's what happens, bro. That's what happens. You get out there and start messing around, and these young people, they'll show you what's up. Supreme V says, look at the angles. Yes, sir. Chicano Prophet says, the Paul brothers are punks. Of course they are. That's what they always going to be. But you can't say that they don't be getting the best of folks. You know what? Hey, watch them two suckers, man. You're going to have to kill them. And I'm going to tell you something. There was a guy going around pranking black folks, right? And he got shot and killed. It was a few months ago. See, that's them guys. You're going to have to do something to them guys. They ain't going to learn a lesson from this. They're going to keep doing it till it escalate and somebody get hurt or dead. That's how young folks are today. You have to kill them. Huh? And I ain't telling you to kill nobody. I'm just saying that's the extent that they take stuff. And next thing you know, somebody in the hospital or the morgue. Huh? They can't sit their butts down somewhere doing all that foolishness. IGM Tim says, I saw it. It was a spooky little short film, Stormy. I was spooked in my room that night too. Yeah, man, Floyd brought it all back on me yesterday. Just brought it all back. I couldn't even, man, I had to turn the light on before I went to bed. You know what I'm saying? You talking about turn the light off, right? I turned the light on, was sitting there looking around that little creature looking for Floyd. Thrill Hill says, I do recall the trilogy of terror. Yeah. D. Hodges says, what up, Stormy in chat? LDBC, salute. Salute family. Yes, sir. And Taylor Bell with the little demon face there. Yeah. Yeah, man. Let's see what else we got here. Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens is out there. Who else we got? I'm trying to go through and acknowledge all you guys out here, man. Let's see. Taylor Bell says it was an accident and it turned out to be the best thing to happen. Best promo for his fight. You couldn't buy that promo. Yeah, I don't know, man. Floyd was mad, though. You could see, I ain't never seen him mad like that in a fight. You know what I'm saying? That dude was steaming. Steaming. And then Rasheed Rourke is still laughing. IGM Tim says, talking about the James Evans looking ass pick. Yeah. CB Sports TV is out there saying, salute Stormy B-Man. Salute to you, bro. Chicano Prophet says, anyone think it was staged? I can't tell yet. It's a good promotion at the very least. Well, I know at least the Paul brothers has staged it because they was selling hats about an hour and a half later. They was online. You could buy this, got your hat, you know. You know, hey, marketing, bro. Took a butt whooping and started making money off of it. Tay Brown is out there. She says, the Quiet Storm, salute. Yes, sir. And she says, oh, Professor. Okay. Appreciate you, Tay. Good to see you out there, Queen. Rasheed Rourke says, there comes a time in a man's life when you have to accept your hair isn't coming back. Listen, that is very true. Very true. Then we got, Rasheed says, I can't unsee it either. Yeah, man, that's a heck of a one, right? You see that? The Trilogy of Terror and Floyd Mayweather. It's just, oh, man, some things were true. Tay says, Floyd laughed my ass off. She's dead. And she's still laughing. CB Sports is laughing, too. D. Hodges is laughing. Man, it's funny. Richard Burton is out there. He says, Bernard Burton, I'm sorry. He says, salute Stormy in chat. Tay says, ew. Yes. And what else we got out there? Supreme Beast is still laughing. No hat, he says. And what else we got out there? I think that's everybody I'm caught up. Felix Nunez is out there, says good evening. And Rasheed Rourke is saluting Reggie. And Mr. Pac-Man says, salute, big dog. Salute to you. Tone Brown is out there. He says, salute. Salute to you, Tone Brown. But, yeah, I just had to start it off, man, with that. That right there, I've heard lots of stories earlier in the day. People giving their take on it. Shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV. He had me cracking up yesterday. He couldn't stop laughing about it, man. He said, got your hat. He was just cracking up. He kept cracking up. He was showing it. I said, man, wait a minute. When I saw the still photograph of Floyd, I was like, oh, man, ain't nobody caught this yet? I said, okay. Wow. That was something else, man. That was something else. But, yeah, we're going to get into some boxing talk, man. If Floyd and that kid fight, I won't even be tuning in because I don't watch those guys. I know that I've heard they've had some couple of showcases and whatnot, but I'm not interested in that. I want to see some real boxing, man. And that's so far removed from real boxing. I mean, man, but it says a lot that they came up with something and totally smashed Canelo's press day, right? It's just like Canelo's press day just became another sports byline of the day. And these guys just, I think Blue said it was like 5 million views after like a couple of hours or something, like 3 hours, it was 5 million views. I mean, man, that stuff is crazy, you know? IGM Tim says the fact that it's something to do with a sensitive subject like his hair makes me doubt Floyd was down with that. He said the reason he got the hair is because of his pride. So, hey, he could get the hair, he could get a fake beard, he could get whatever he want. Just go sit down over there out of the camera view and the microphone view and range and let the sport commence without him. Huh? Forget that dude, man. He's had his day in the sun. And now, since he decided to step into this type of spotlight, he's been sunned. Bernard Burton says, yeah, Stormy, that movie creeped me also as a kid. Yeah, man, I'm telling y'all, you got to go watch the movie now. And you'll never be able to unsee it and unsee Floyd as the Trilogy of Terror. I'm telling you, that little beast, I'm telling you, when you see that movie, not just the still photographs, but see the movie itself, that'll make you be like, dang, you know, Stormy got a point. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Supreme B says, that's definitely a free fight. Yes, sir. Mark Stearns is out there. He says, salute Stormy B-Man in the chat. Salute to you, Mark. Good to see you back. And, yeah, man. I thought I'd laugh about that a little bit with you guys because it really became something that, like, talking about you can't unsee. That's definitely something you can't unsee, you know, talking about that, man. But, yeah, let's move on into some boxing stuff. We got William Old School Art out there. What's good with you, William? He says, salute, Stormy B-Man, salute, brother. Yes, sir. Salute to you. Trying to see why my chat isn't updating. I need this thing to update. Yeah, so we're going to get on into it. I know Reggie will be on in a minute, but we had a story break earlier in the week. And this is a tough one, ladies and gentlemen. A real tough one because we all have, excuse me, we all have our loved ones, you know, and there's nothing like hearing a story like this one here that has come to pass, and the story regarding Felix Verdeo and this woman, Keishla Ortiz. I know she's got a much longer name. She has like 3 names and then her last name. But Keishla was a person who seemingly had a relationship with Verdeo, and the story goes that she had reported or wanted to confront him with the fact that she was pregnant with his child. Now, Verdeo, who's also a married man and had a family of his own, I guess this woman and he knew each other over the years, and they were not new acquaintances. And when she had left to go to confront him to let him know about her situation and that they were expecting, apparently she never returned home, never made it to work the day that she was going to go confront him. And Her body was found a few days later in a lagoon. She had been bound. She had been beaten about the face, and she had been shot. This young lady lost her life after they had apparently carried on a relationship. Now, the funny thing is that there's a story that's saying that they've known each other for years, and even his wife may have known of the woman. I don't know to that extent, but I only have what has been presented by the authorities thus far, and that is that they were acquainted, and Verdejo, who just recently had a real tough knockdown drag out fight with Masayoshi Takanashi in that tough lightweight fighter who also gave a spirited effort after being dropped a couple of times himself in that fight. He bested Verdejo, and it was a tough fight. And Nakatani is also going to be the next opponent for Vasily Lomachenko they're talking about. And that fight is not going to be an easy fight for Lomachenko because of the guy's height and reach. But he is a fighter that if you have skills, you can exploit some things, just like Verdejo was able to do. But it doesn't look like Verdejo will be stepping in the ring anytime soon again. This is just a very unfortunate situation to see these young people not be able to iron out whatever they were facing. You get mixed in it, you have to mix yourself out, and committing violence against a woman is not the way. Committing murder against your unborn child is not the way. It's really a sad situation. My prayers, thoughts, and sympathies go out to the young lady's family, and hopefully everything about this story will be, brought to light in a manner of which people can have some type of understanding, because it's just like a senseless attack or whatever. I don't know, man. How do you know someone for so long like that and then you take their life? How do you take the life of someone who bearing your child? And undoubtedly the words love may have been exchanged through these people. And I've often heard it said that devils don't have no love. So it's like, what's really going on? What are you really talking about here? So when you put everything in its proper perspective, young people of today, and you heard me saying it earlier when referencing Floyd Mayweather getting involved with these young people, they don't have the sensibility that had been handed down for generations and everything. Young people of today have a detachment to that. They're living in their own realities, and they have no value on life, not even for their own. They'll commit suicides, they'll commit murders, they'll attack and be aggressive on people and bully people and do it all with a cell phone camera capturing everything. You got people who are leading cops to their homes with crimes and criminal activity because they don't care. They don't have any compassion. They don't have any sense of objective thinking. And all of this comes because the desensitization of the internet no filter, no discipline, no sense of having a regard or reverence for something, someone else outside of your own personal space. And this type of unlawfulness, unguidedness leads to death, one way or another, because you have no discipline. You know, children can get hurt because they're inexperienced. They can fall, they can be in jeopardy or peril because they don't know. What is adults' excuse? I was in a store and I watched two people fight over an item off the shelf. And it was the weirdest thing, because to see the action that took place, one person grabbed the item, the other person wanted the item, and they just hit the one lady hit the other. Pow! Just struck her, just like that. She said no words. These were two people who didn't even know each other. She spoke no words. She just struck the lady. Pow! And next thing you know, they were fighting. Children do that. They could be sitting around in a circle playing, and one can have a toy. It don't have to be the best toy. It could just be a toy that they're really having fun with. And another child will look over and say, "Gimme," and want to go take it from them. And they say no, and they put it behind their back like this. And what does the child that wanted to take it do? Reach out like that woman in the store. Bam! And hit him. And next thing you know, you got them crying and they fighting and everything. When you see two children do that, that's a teachable moment. What happened in that woman's life that she never got the lesson? That as an adult, when she wanted something that someone else had, her first reaction was to rear back and strike the lady. Think about that for a moment. And these were not young women. We're talking about 40 plus. Okay? Maybe one could have been younger than 40, maybe in the late 30s, but the older one that struck was like 40 plus, probably 50. Huh? Think about it. Those that you see as children, they do become adults one day. And what household did they grow up in? The same one where they sit back and call you, who look like me, every name derogatory under the sun when they watch them on TV. Look at that so-and-so. Look at that. That's a so-and-so. That's a so-and-so. And you know I'm substituting the word. But then they go out in the world and they see one of you. They want to call the cops on you for living, breathing, walking down the street. You saw the video recently where the young man was walking down the street and that military guy comes outside and tries to chase him out the neighborhood. Get off of my property. Get off of my street. That man had nothing better to do than to bring his butt outside his house. And the young man that he accosted was a young man, looked like a young, I won't say nerdy kid, but he just looked like an innocent kid with posing no threat whatsoever. He bullies him. He takes his phone and throw it to the ground. Isn't that assault? Aren't you attacking him? But he wouldn't do that to me. Huh? This is the thing. When you have people out here that just act on impulse, it's time for them to be shown the lesson in life. Because if they didn't get it by 50 or 50 plus, they ain't going to get it. Huh? So they need to get it. Huh? Faith in the Cross says you lose it in that moment in time. You should never lose it, faith in the cross, no matter what time it is. You should never lose it. You should always have a grasp of it. Let those who don't have a grasp of it be lost. But do never make excuses for yourself in the moment. Supreme B says, the whole situation is a mess. Shaking my head. Yeah. A tremendous mess. William Old School Artist out there says, Felix Verdejo was seeing this young lady since junior high school and even longer than his wife. Bernard Burton says, facts. Faith in the Cross says, B-Man, there is a truth out there that states the heart is wickedly, and the wicked who can know it. And wicked who can know it. It's a learned behavior. Sometimes it's inborn, faith in the cross. You know the fruit by the tree that bears it. Huh? Think about it. You have some that have been rotten from the core. You have some who can turn over a leaf. But I'm not the creator. I don't have time to make that type of discernment. I have time to act. Eric R. says, we as men have self-control. We need to have self-control, which is why you have to be taught things from an early age. If you're waiting for a later date, the lesson may never hit home. And if you, as an author who can teach, don't do your job, you are as useless as a can that has a hole at both ends. An empty vessel. What's good with you, Reggie? I see you out there, bro. Thanks for coming on in. How you doing?
Doing good, OG. How's it going?
It's going all right. I finally had a chance to come out and throw something out there to address this situation. Would you like to chime in? Because I know you were covering this very tightly with this situation with Verdejo and Miss Ortiz.
Yeah, man, he's a sucker, man. He's a typical sucker that doesn't know how to handle situations in life, don't know how to accept accountability in life or responsibility in life. To really run from a situation that you created defines who the person is. It really defines who that man is, that we do things that are enjoyable. I mean, sex is a very enjoyable thing. Like me, I would accept any child that I brought into this world, because I was doing a lot of ill stuff and had a lot of my fun doing what I was doing. But not once would I ever, if a woman came up to me, and I had multiple who were pregnant at the time, come up and talk about, oh, I'm pregnant, what you want to do? It ain't nothing to run from. It ain't no thought of knocking her off. I need to get rid of it. Nah, I got to accept that. I've been laying down, doing what I'm doing. That's a responsibility I got to accept. Now, this dude being in the better financial, this is back when I was young. But luckily, I avoided some of them situations where I can have a lot of kids running around here. His situation, at the point he is in life, in the country he's living in, he's a rich dude. You can take care of that situation. You can take care of that woman and that child. You've been doing enough to keep her on the side while you marry. You're already doing ill stuff. Like, what are you running from, fool? And then you go about, and it just shows how sloppy you will go about things the wrong way, create a situation that you're worried about, to escalating this into a life-ruining situation for yourself and for your family, because that the money that he brought into that household is lost. That child needing her father, who he bears with his wife, is going to lose out on that. And now who does the mother bring into existence? Because that's a young child. That child probably ain't going to know nothing about this guy. And this is the situation because he didn't think about what's going on. He let these rush feelings process through his dysfunctioning brain. His brain wasn't functioning properly. He panicked. Oh, this girl's Satanist, and everything they got from him because of such a sloppy situation that he created, and also to get someone else involved in it who also cracked and opened leads to a lot of things. He screwed himself, and it's so easy with the evidence they have about him. He planned this out. The planning that went behind it, which was some horrific planning. The dude's probably on an IQ level 10 or something. That he left everything open, dropping over a bridge like bridges don't have cameras over them. Then firing off a weapon like they can't trace back the certain things to this weapon if they come across him having this gun. They were going to find the trail to this anyway. This how sloppy it was. He should have never done that, and no one should do anything like that. It ain't that goddamn serious. You laying down to have fun. To one of the most enjoyable feelings in life is sex. To run away from that, you knew what you was doing. You know what comes with it. You should have been strapped up. And when you raw dog and stuff, that's the bed you got to lay in. When you bring a child into this world, that's the responsibility you have to be out there for it. And you making enough money to take care of all these situations, especially in that country. It ain't like you was living in California. And even if he lived in California off the income he can probably make, even though he's kind of towards the downturning of his career, but he still had other opportunities of getting other fights and still being able to bring money in there to secure himself. He ought to be owning things that is out there in Puerto Rico, but now all that's lost. All of it's lost. And they're going to hit him on all sorts of goddamn charges and also make him financially responsible because now that family can go after whatever income he has that he probably hasn't hid away. It'll belong to the girl that he killed. So he really jacked up a situation for everybody involved on his family he thought he was protecting. But that's my thoughts on it. He's a punk.
Yeah, the fact that they got cameras, this is a thing like where crime hasn't adjusted to the technology of the day. You heard me say earlier in my comments where I was saying these people are so foolish that they invite the police to their homes to come and get them. It's like you tell on yourself with almost everything you do. A recorded conversation can, just lead right to you, going to jail. I can't tell you how many times we've done a show and I'll go and check my emails and stuff, and right on the side of my email page where they have advertisements and stuff, something will pop up on the screen that we talked about in the show. I remember like last week we were talking to Vincent Petway on Drew Titan's channel after the show. I checked my news feed the next day, and Vincent Petway fights come up in my YouTube feed. It's like, wow. And we were just talking to the fighter the night before, right? And all of my boxing stuff that come up, it's like, he comes up? Really? Now imagine if we're talking about things we shouldn't really be talking about. Criminal intent. They're just gathering the information, and it's like, well, we can wait. They say they're going to do it next Thursday at such and such time. We'll just be waiting for them. We'll let them complete the process, and then we'll complete the process. They come and get your butt. And you be like, man, somebody snitched. You snitched on yourself, fool. You can turn your phone off. They still tracking you. You can pull the battery out of it and everything. They still tracking you. Huh? It's like these people don't even, they don't even know that you'd be better off just walking the straight line. It's like you'd be better off. And in the crime that you see somebody going down for today, Reggie, today, next week somebody doing the same thing. And they saw this. They saw this report. They saw us talking about it. They were sitting in the chat writing, yeah, brother, that's a shame. And then they doing the same thing next week. How many times you seen that? Something really tragic, terrible happened, and people be, oh my goodness, oh my God, oh, that was horrible. And then the next week they doing something, and they on the news. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like people don't learn, man. They don't learn anything. That's why I was telling Faith in the Cross. It comes from within. You make that determination, but you could also do something to help yourself through this. You don't have to be that person. That's a choice. Just like you make that choice to put something where it don't belong, huh? In this case, a man and a woman. You come across, you take that. You either do it because you want to do it, or you don't do it because you know what come with it, or there's a multitude of choices there. That's all I'm saying, man. And most people, they ain't got time to think about it. To hell with circumstances. I'm going to do me. Yeah, we see you on the news next week. But yeah, Reggie, before I move on to the next subject, did you have anything that you wanted to add for, my opening discussion, Reggie, was definitely taking your buddy, Floyd Mayweather Jr., to task in recognizing everything that went wrong yesterday when he saw himself out there with the Paul brothers and everything, and it looked like he made himself, a show for these guys, and I equated him and his appearance with that little beast from Trilogy of Terror that I saw when I was a kid growing up. I don't know if you ever saw it. I know you don't watch movies too much, but dude, that was a movie that scared the bejabbers out of us when we were kids. And my goodness, that Floyd didn't look like that ravaged, savage little creature in that movie, man, yesterday when they snatched his hat off his head.
Yeah, he had that Taco Bell meat. Security team got hungry. They was trying to get some plates to scoop off his head. Thought it was Taco Bell buffet up on his head. But he exposed the Roach Motel on Floyd, man. But that's the thing with people getting these hair, what do they call it, surgery or the process for the hair plugs, is the crap don't work. It ain't work on LeBron. It ain't work on that singer dude, what's his name, Tory Lanez, is worse than Floyd. It ain't work on, I don't know if Kevin Durant got it, but him and Floyd head look the same. Rock with what you got, man. Let the head go bald, man. Like you can't be going to a barber getting that ish chopped up. Like, give it up, man. Just chop it off. But when it comes down to like what happened, I don't think it was too much of it was a thing that angered Floyd, but it's also a thing that capitalizes on the monetary situation. That's a big fight now. It's a huge fight. The other thing is what the brother did was upstage his own brother. And that's where he was wrong with pulling these tactics. Like it ain't about you talking about Jake. It was about you and your brother. And the press conference was just going to end, it was going to end uneventful. It was just cool to announce it. It wasn't going to upstage CANELO in the event. But when that happened because of Jake Paul prods at people. The thing that had me mad was the fact that the security team, I ain't like the way the security team, Big Baby Miller up there grabbing Floyd, bear hugging him and stuff. Like you forget this dude got a brother here. If the brother had any heart, he could have snuffed Floyd. But I think he knew what the deal was. But to watch these security, if I was fly fire every single one of these dudes, or at least rock with somebody else, y'all ain't about to be up here grabbing me, pushing me out the way and holding me. Nah, I should have been able to get some punches on this dude to teach him a lesson. And I don't think this is nothing dealing with Floyd, because when you look at Jake Paul needed to be taught a lesson. He should have been taught a lesson with one of the smaller fighters that he's calling out. He done went to a UFC event. calling out a heavyweight champion out of the UFC, calling out a middleweight champion out of the UFC, who will probably dog the brakes up out of him. Confronted these cats. He's kind of starting to believe. He's like the real Rocky story. You know, Rocky get hyped up into believing he was what he was, and that's what's happening with Jake Paul. But I commend him for having a heart to want to fight these dudes, but they should have let Floyd put a little bit more thumping on him. But like I was stating yesterday, if the dude Jake Paul happened to be a black dude, that security team probably have been stumping concrete through his dang head. But the fact that this dude was of a different complexion, that team tried to be real tame, and they were more protecting that guy and keeping Floyd away from him than letting Floyd get a few punches on him, because it would have been looked at as the dude robbed me for my goods, took something up off of me, and he assaulted me. So I had to defend myself. It wouldn't went to court. He should just let Floyd teach the dude a lesson. You're going to feel what a smaller boxer is going to hit you like, because I hear the dude got a concussion. He already had a black eye. You're going to feel what it feels. So that way, when you come in the presence of a boxer, you come in here and you act a little bit more disciplined. And that's what should have been a lesson taught, rather than sitting there grabbing and bear hugging him like a little slave-minded 300-pound hoe, is what that security team act like. But all in all, it was a good event. I think it adds a lot of attention towards when they do fight. And like Floyd, he's fighting for the big time money. It's a big time money thing. But he's gonna have to chop that hair off. He's gonna have to start rocking back the bald head, because he can't be coming in with the welcome to Taco Bell processed hair. His hair look like processed meat, so he got to chop that crap off. That's my thoughts on that.
Processed meat. That's good stuff right there, man. Oh, man. Mark Stearns out there said Floyd hasn't aged well. He looked like he was in his 60s. Chicano Prophet says Jake Paul is going to get himself hurt. That's what I was alluding to earlier. We had a YouTuber out there playing pranks on folks, particularly black folks, and he went over there and got himself dealt with. And that was the last of him. He on camera too, huh? Messing with people, pulling pranks and stuff, huh? And his demise wasn't no prank. It was for real. It was the real deal. The legend stopped right there. You know what I'm saying? Watcher says those two brothers are sociopaths, very bad people, and they disgust me. I agree with Watcher, and people want to pay to watch them on Triller and all of this foolishness, huh? Yeah. Crawface says, I agree with you, Reggie. Nitty G is out there. He says, salute family. Hashtag LDBC Chicago. Chi-Town, stand up, Nitty G. And Crawface says, at Taylor, no doubt, a part of us ain't too surprised, though. I mean, we knew how the pros and cons of this high tech. Talking about these phones and stuff like that. Yeah, man. Everywhere there's a mic. Supreme Beast is laughing. He says, Deion Sanders' hair good, though. Yeah, and salute to Supreme Beast, Reggie. We were supposed to have him on this evening, but when he popped on just before airing, he was having audio trouble, and I didn't have time to troubleshoot it with him because we were going live. But we'll have him back for another Friday night chop session after we iron out whatever the problem is for him, because he was supposed to be in with us tonight for the show.
For sure.
Yeah. But, hey, man, let's move forward with some conversation on your Dennis Ugas, man. Reggie, this young man, I'm calling him from here on out, win, lose, or draw, whatever happens with Earl Spence or whatever, I'm calling him Hollywood Ugas. Because this dude, Reggie, I'm telling you, man, since they awarded him that WBA belt, man, this guy been walking around with the women on his arm. He done had the shades on. He's got like the sport jackets that are electric and everything, taking pictures with the belt every chance he can. Dude, he got more swag with a title, you know, with a title than most of the guys who've been having belts all these years and holding on to them, like AJ and all this. This guy, man, if he could fight half as good as how he's, living the life, that'll be my dude right there. Because Yordenis Ugas. And I just put a collage together of a couple of pictures of him. And he got the ladies. He's like, he living it up, man. Now it's time to fight. But what I wanted to ask you, Reggie, is this. Yordenis Ugas, he's a Cuban fighter that he has some skill and ability. He's beat some guys that have names in the amateurs and everything. And a lot of people felt like he beat Shawn Porter, when they fought. If he has any chance against Earl, if this is the fight that's going to be made, because it's not even in concrete yet that's actually happening. I'm hearing rumblings now that Earl might be going after Manny. So it's like, I don't know. But I'm just speaking on Ugas at this time. What would you like to see out of this young man? I mean, I love his thought, like, I'm a champ now, so I'm going to change how I dress, all of that. But what do you think about him in the ring? Because we haven't seen him in the ring since he's got that belt.
Now, and I got to say this about Ugas. Ugas is one of the cleanest dressing dudes in boxing. You see him at an event, the dude stay fresh. So it just escalated where he's carrying his ability to, get dapper with the gear that he wears. But he's always like properly dressed, man. But them Cubans, especially Cubans with African descent, they real cold with the style. Anywhere you get them Africans across any continent, South America, all that stuff, anybody with that African style in them, even on the continent of Africa, you got some people who really care about their dress, and you guys one of them dudes in boxing. But looking at him coming into, you saying about with the Earl Spence fight.
Yeah.
Story, can you hear me?
But whether it's Earl Spence, whoever going forward, my question to you is, what are your thoughts about him? Can that translate? Sometimes when a guy gets a title, he can become at least 10% on a percentage level. He can become 10% better because he's fighting with a different type of confidence now. He feels like he's got something to protect. We're talking about a guy that may be psychologically focused in the proper manner. We're not talking about someone, it went to his head. We're talking about the possibility of like, I'm a champion now and I'm going to try to fight like it or whatever. So my thoughts to you are, what do you think of him going forward being a champion, whether he's going to be facing Earl or whoever? Because like I said, a lot of people thought he beat Shawn Porter.
I think he becomes a serious threat, and really, he's given everyone a tough fight, even in the losses. Because I think even who he lost to, what's that dude's name? He got some famous person's name that beat Bud in the amateurs. I thought he beat that guy. Even with Shawn Porter, I was a Shawn Porter fan, and I thought Shawn Porter got away with it with one. I thought Ugas could have easily pulled that one off, but Ugas fought the fight kind of light. He kind of took back up off of it, style and playing around, was making it an easier fight. That fight, what he did against Shawn was much easier, much different than what Shawn was able to do in there against Earl Spence. Also looking at what he did to that Figueroa kid, he beat the brakes off of that Figueroa kid. That Figueroa kid ain't the same fighter since fighting you guys. And I think with you guys having this opportunity of becoming a champion, he's a new father, the pride of Cuba. Those are the things that factor into what you guys is going to treasure as a champion. And he doesn't want to lose it. He didn't face these close decisions and these losses. I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to experience it as a champion and letting that belt go. And because them dudes ride off a lot of pride. And I think being at this point of the pinnacle of success right here, and having to defend it, he got the belt the cheap route because this is the new age of boxing. But still, that mess don't matter to him. In his mind, he's a champion, and he's a guy looking to hold on to it. No one is guaranteed. I don't give a dang how many people hold Earl up to a certain standard and this and that. It's a tough world out here for Earl, anybody out there, Terrence Crawford as well. Ugas is that serious of a dude. He can fight in all different spots. He can fight tall, fight on the outside. He can bang with you, and who knows how physically strong he is. He seems to be physically strong. Even seeing Sean Porter not going in there using too much of the roughhouse style with Ugas. He tried to box with Ugas because going on the inside, Ugas can exchange with him. So it shows me that Ugas is a pretty strong fighter there. Watching the way he broke down Figueroa, who's a durable dude, broke him down. So we don't know.
Great point there, Reggie. And not to cut you off, but
go ahead.
we could stay on that for a moment. The way Sean Porter fought him, he stayed on the inside against Earl Spence more than he did Ugas. So there must have been some type of threat with Ugas there. And listen, for those in the chat that are just totally writing this man off, okay? Because I know we have people who like Earl, right? And it's nothing wrong with liking who you like as far as a fighter. But as a boxing mind, I give the Cuban fighters a lot of credit. These men can fight. And they may not be your favorites, but your favorites are going to have to respect these guys to beat them, because they don't go away easy. And there's a reason that they dominated the amateurs and the Olympics and things of that nature. It's like these men are very capable. We have a couple right now that nobody still wants to face, and these men are being aged out of this process of fighting because nobody wants to take a match with them. And that's Luis King Kong Ortiz and Guillermo Rigondeaux. And those two men, for the divisions, well, in Rigondeaux's case, for the division that he fought best at and just a notch or so above, nobody wanted any smoke with him. Guys went 2 to 3 weight classes north of him to avoid him. King Kong Ortiz is a fighter that nobody wants to get in the ring with, but everybody's talking about how badass they are. Tyson Fury saying anybody can get it, but he ain't mentioned Luis King Kong Ortiz once. You see? And this is the thing. I respect these guys. And as you just heard me say, every once in a while, there comes a point in a guy's career. Now, he didn't win this title off of someone, and that would have been better had that been the case, because it would have given a sense of an accomplishment, not just being awarded or attributed. But sometimes being in that position will make someone fight even harder. Because you have to understand, these men have pride. And sometimes they feel like, you know what? Nobody's taking food out of my family's mouth. You think that Earl or Bud or Danny Garcia or Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, they're the only ones who will feel like that? And why is it? Because these guys are Cuban? They're just going to be disrespected? Well, that's just like somebody wanting to disrespect you because you're black or you're Latin or whatever, right? So have the same sensibility and sense of respectability for these other men, because they are accomplished fighters. I could see if they hadn't done anything. But like I said, this man has some of your fighters' names on his list from the amateurs, including Bud Crawford. So it's like, you just don't know until they lace him up, because sometimes a guy may never have really wanted to face this guy because he's capable. Yeah, he might not be the best at anything, but he's capable, and on any night, he can put it together. And next thing you know, there's that word, upset. You see? So you leave some space for consideration for the accomplishments and merits of a fighter. Guys out here in the chat and those who are listening in silence, be thoughtful and mindful of that, because that's definitely something that can change a lot of minds. And we've had so many examples in the history of the sport where that has come to pass, and people ain't learned yet. take a quick moment and acknowledge a super chat donation out there from Bernard Burton. He says, a little something for the channel, STORMYBMAN. Thank you, Bernard Burton. I really appreciate you and your donation to the channel. Salute to you, brother. Appreciate it. Okay, Reggie, go ahead, man, please. I just kind of wanted to add that in there as you had touched on that about he and Porter, but please continue.
Yeah, but like I was saying, like, people do not know where his strength is. People don't view him as being a physically strong dude. People look at physique and think of that as being, oh, he's a super powerful and physically strong guy. No, some people, you don't even see an ounce of cut. You don't see any of that. You look at John Jones, he don't look rip or cut. Dominating catch. You look at Anderson Silva, doesn't look rip or cut. Don't even look like they're strong. Tyson Fury don't look like he's strong. It ain't always about how person's cut up. People shape up different genetically, but that doesn't give you the picture of what. But the one thing you can tell from physique is if a person's not putting in the work. But other than that, thinking a person has to be rip and cut gives you the tell of how strong a person is. It doesn't. And I think you guys is a physically strong person and a hard-hitting puncher. And the other thing with Cubans is a thing that people overlook. People overlook Cubans because they're kind of overshadowed within the sport because they don't have representation when it comes to people who finance this sport. The people who finance this sport do not finance Cubans. And who knows if it could be political reasonings behind that. We see what Bob Arum does with Cubans. If he has them, he'll shelve them. When they rise up to become a stardom, they really get put on the back burner. The same thing with Eddie Hearn does it. Barry Hearn does it. Don't know if Don King did it. What's going on with the Cubans? Not getting proper representation. And then when they do get representation, you have fighters that duck them, don't want to fight them. Oh, I don't like their style. Blah, 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 blase, blah. They don't want to fight them. And it's true about Cubans. And you got to respect these dudes because out of the pride of Cubans, these cats like to fight. Go on that island. You go on that island and start some of that American ish over there and you can't fight. They gonna hand it to you. There are dudes who live with pride. Americans is, I don't know, it's something about folks from our country when we have this lack of respect for other people. But the Cubans, they're serious dudes. They're very serious dudes, and the ones who are involved in the sport of boxing are some very good fighters. And you see it when they reach a certain level and where they can't get fights. And you guys is a dude who probably can cause some difficulty amongst the elites out there. He ain't got to be all super flashy and look all this and that. It ain't about that. It's about where your punches connect and how you defend against if something hits you and how you react to it, how you absorb it. That's what fighting about. Some people look flashy and look cool and look great to the eye. But when you match them up with a person, it's about where that person's will is, how deep they can take another fighter, how much they can push another fighter. And you guys is a guy who does that. But I think he learns from what he did in the Sean Porter fight of thinking he was doing so good in that fight. He was celebrating a little bit too much. As right. He thought he was accomplishing and winning things. And the judges just didn't see it that way. But in the true gist of it, I think Sean Porter knew that guy probably won that fight as well. But based on him being Cuban and having a lack of representation in the sport, as Cuba is kind of shunned down upon by the rest of the world. And it has a lot to do with the politics of what comes from Cuba. Look at the struggle for them to get over here. The Cubans do a whole lot to get off that island, sacrificing when they got family over to come over here and make money just to send it back. And you hear the stories of these dudes. They go through some extreme travels to get up over here just to earn money this way, not to go out there and work on a plantation, not to work on a factory line, but to work into boxing climbing up. And that's what makes them such hard and rugged opponents. And even look at Canelo's. The one person they say beat Canelo was a Cuban. But that's all I got.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Reggie. Usually Cuban fighters are very well versed, regardless if they're boxing, they're punching, whether they're great with agility and movement. They usually have the best of what they have to offer when they do what they do. So there's a certain amount of respect that I have for them. You know, when we had that 84 Olympic team, the Cubans didn't fight, you know. And it would have been really interesting to see what happened during that Olympics had they been there, because, you know, you look at fighters like Pernell Whitaker, when he took on Diabetes Hurtado, you know, Hurtado was beating Whitaker, and Whitaker had to pull a knockout in the last round of their championship fight to ensure victory, because the scorecards were close. And even with Whitaker being the fighter that he was, there was no shoe-in that he was going to get that decision. And he was able to pull out a 12th round knockout. There's just a history of things that lead to, if you aren't mindful and on your game, you could still lose to a fighter from Cuba, and they don't even have to be the best representation of Cuba. They don't. It's just that on a night, it can happen. And I'm just trying to help people understand this and not be so dismissive of these people. Like I said, if you thought that the fight with Earl and Sean was close, the fight with Ugas and Sean was even closer, because some people thought that Ugas won. And he didn't get the decision, maybe because he's a Cuban. And if that's the honest truth about the situation, that's bad, because he's a good fighter. Am I saying he's great? No. I'm saying he's a good fighter. And good fighters today can become champions. We see a lot of them. Some of you are calling them great, and they're nowhere near the class of being great. But in your eyes, they are. And they ain't fought nobody. But when the time comes for someone to step up to the plate and they incur a real challenge, that's when we'll know. So just, you know, keep that in your pipe and smoke on it and puff on it till you get lung cancer. But yeah, Reggie, I just wanted to mention old Hollywood, because he, you know, I've never heard him say much, you know, but when I've seen him out and about, it's pretty cool to see a guy have swag, and he's just like doing his thing, but he ain't even, you know, had a coronation yet. So maybe, and let me just put this out there. If he does so happen to win when he fights Earl, I can't imagine what that's going to be like with his behavior or whatever. But for right now, he the man. As far as the look and everything, that's why I call him Hollywood, man, because the dude is he look like he's ready for his next close-up, man. But I just thought I'd bring that out about Mr. Ugas, because he, you know, the brother got a little swag, you know. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that one. Call him Hollywood.
Yeah, he wanted to clean his cats, and at least he ain't wearing the purses like you see purses and skinny jeans like these other cats be wearing and shit. And
dresses, you know. And before I take that off the screen there, if you see that woman right there with him, he got her on there, and she got on a nice little tight piece ensemble, as they call it, or whatever, and it looks nice, you know. That's all I'll say. But yeah, Reggie, let's move on to the tail of the tape. These two guys, Mr. Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, still trying to convince people that this is a fight that can be made. Yeah, it can possibly be made, but is this going to be next? I highly doubt it. But these two guys, man, have they been carrying on like a couple of bad school kids, you know, disrupting class? Because until whatever is sorted out with Mr. Wilder and Fury, nothing else is going to transpire. But I just think like this, man. I hope at some point this fight does take place, because I want to see Tyson Fury beat this dude up. I'm sorry. And I'm not a fan of Tyson Fury. But I would just like him to beat this dude up. What are your thoughts on this? If it were to happen, are you feeling it as a fight worth watching, or are you feeling like, well, whatever?
Oh, heck yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Heck yeah. But I want to see Wilder get his trilogy because that one was signed. But with this fight, AJ's gonna have to take this guy. AJ's gonna have to do a lot of tape watching. He's gonna really have to watch a lot of tape on Tyson Fury. He's gonna have to try to bring someone in there to try to mimic Tyson Fury, because it's gonna be a tough fight for him to fight a tall heavyweight like that who can move around. Now AJ can't do that kind of moving around the ring like he did against Andy Ruiz, because Tyson Fury is a fluid footwork heavyweight who can close the gap much quicker than Anthony Joshua. Joshua has to really tune up a lot of things because he's kind of shying away from fighting Wilder because he's worried about the one punch. Now Tyson Fury, with the weight and mass that he's carrying and the ability to carry that weight on with the endurance, he messed around and knock Anthony Joshua out too, because it doesn't take that much force to knock Joshua out. You clip him on the chin and he's already wobbly. So he's going to have to work on staying agile, keeping a lot of that muscle off. He has good punching power. He has good hands. His thing's worrying about everything that's outside of offense, and that's going to be moving his head, avoiding shots, learning when to counter. He's going to have to be great at countering Tyson Fury, because that may be his only moments as Tyson Fury tries to keep him at the end of a jab. He's going to know how to learn how to slip that jab, move around it, close distance, fire off his shots. He's going to have to work on the inside because Tyson Fury's going to definitely tie the guy up. He's going to wrap him up a lot. He just got to watch the tape on Tyson Fury and what the guys who have had success against, well, not too many people. Some people have had success against him. He's going to have to watch that. The best fight or the best plan of strategy to probably watch is going to probably have to be Cunningham's strategy, Otto Wallin's strategy. Wilder in the first fight, not so much, but you can kind of take something up out of that first fight because Wilder was just going after the guy. I think Wilder let his emotions get to him in that fight, but with Wilder's activity, when he's throwing off punches, Tyson Fury's not willing to exchange, but Tyson Fury may not be willing to exchange like that because it's Wilder. He may not do that against AJ, but AJ can crack. He's a big heavyweight. So I think his thing is just watching tape, moving that head, and keeping his hands up so he can catch some of that impact off those arms, because the minute Tyson Fury catch the side of his head, he's gonna definitely rock Anthony Joshua. So Joshua's gonna have to be real fluid and active in that fight, because I don't buy into that pillow fisted stuff that people, well, Wilder started. I don't buy into that about Tyson Fury being pillow fisted. He's big enough to crack folks to be able to put something up on. He has different tolerance on what definitely stop Anthony Joshua, because Tyson Fury wears at the body too. As tall as he is, he does punch and wear on people, and also he's going to use that weight to wear you down too. So Joshua's going to have some things to work on, and just as dangerous as Wilder is to him, Fury is to him as well.
Yeah, and there was something about his fight with Pulev that really just kind of like brought me down, talking about AJ against quality opponents. And Fury is definitely a quality opponent, if not the best boxing heavyweight out there currently at the top of the division. And I don't know that he has the boxing ability to handle Fury. Let's not forget, Fury beat Vladimir easily. AJ was in a knockdown, drag-out war with a faded Vladimir, who had already lost to Fury and had been off for a couple of years. And, you know, Fury's been fighting quite frequently as of late. So if they were to get in the ring, his sharpness should be there. And it's always easier to hit the bigger guys than the little guys. So there's some things that Fury could do. Let's take it back to Fury and Vladimir when they fought. I didn't know a lot about Fury at all because I was kind of coming back to boxing when that fight took place. And I remember watching the fight, and I was saying to myself, after the first round or two, I'm like, Vladimir ain't going to beat this guy. And what it was showing me was that his reach, Vladimir couldn't deal with it. And he was boxing Vladimir. He was sticking him, feinting. And like when Vladimir get ready to do something, he'll throw a feint and step over. And Vladimir couldn't get the timing down. His corner was telling him, throw the right hand, throw the right hand. He couldn't throw the right hand because Fury was giving him this herky-jerky movement that he was never where Vladimir wanted him to be to throw the right hand. And rounds just went by and they went by and they went by, you know, and, you know, he ended up losing that decision. I could see him doing the same thing to Joshua because Joshua is very robotic like Vladimir. Very much, just a younger version of him. And that doesn't mean that right hand is going to get home with Fury, who does know how to keep the chin tucked. And, you know, he keeps his chin inside his big barreling shoulders. And, you know, he knows how to use those long arms. It just would be something that would really create a nightmare that I think for AJ. Salute out there to Boxing and Barbecue. I see you out there, brother. Watcher says, move your damn head. And William Old School Orange says, Watcher's laughing. He's laughing my butt off. Watcher says, Stormy, who's AJ fighting again? Pulev? Who cares? Yeah, exactly. And William Old School Orange says, Watcher, AJ is either fight White or Usyk. If he fights Usyk, that's a fight he could lose because Usyk can box a little bit. You know what I mean? And I think he has enough experience and savvy to outthink Joshua. Joshua is not a good boxer. He's just a big dude. He's big. He's muscular. He's got some pop on his punches, but he's not going to win a lot of boxing matches, man, out there. And people need to understand that about AJ. AJ is kind of like the guy I consider, like, if you were to draw a heavyweight up on paper and have him look on a photograph, yeah, he looks the part. But there are so many things that are not there that you need to be successful as a heavyweight. And I think that's one of the reasons for his real inactivity, because they're just holding those titles. If you notice, Andy Ruiz was champion for almost 1 week when they were threatening to take a belt from him. I don't remember which one. The sanctioning bodies was threatening. He had just beaten AJ, right, in New York. And within that first week, they were threatening to take the belt from him because he needs to defend it within 90 days or something they were saying. It was ridiculous. Like, the dude just won the belt. You ain't even let him celebrate a week. And you talking about threatening. You ain't heard a sanctioning body say nothing about taking the belts away from AJ since he got it back from Ruiz. And the fight with Pulev was a year later, right? So in December as well. So it's like, man, you can see where they have who they want where they want them, and they're going to just try to hold and stand pat and keep it that way. That is such foolishness, man. But you got anything else on that, Reggie? Because we can move it on.
No, that's all I had on that one.
Yeah. So, but just thought I'd, talk about that a little bit. But, hey, man, we hadn't done an update on the Thunderous Top 10 in a little bit, Reggie. And I was just thinking, I said, I'm going to make some changes to the Thunderous Top 10, and you may find to your pleasure that the changes that I made, I really did them and took them into consideration. of what you shared with us the last time that we did the Thunderous Top 10. So I'm going to give you a chance to go through these once again, starting from the bottom to the top, and we can discuss it a little bit, and you let me know what your thoughts are with this new updated look at the Thunderous Top 10, STORMYBMAN's Thunderous Top 10.
Yeah, with the dang, you got Shakur high. Yeah, no, I wouldn't put Shakur that high. I'll at least have to put Shakur.
Just start from what's there, and then we can discuss.
Yeah, NUA, I gotta put up at NUA. I can't see him as number 10 with everybody on the list. I gotta at least put NUA at least at the number 8 spot. Shakur had to take where NUA is at. Better BF, I'll have to move him up a little bit higher as well. Oh, you dropped Charlo. Yeah, I think it looked like you dropped Charlo. Tank Davis, and I think everything else on the list is correct. Yeah, I like everything else on the list. I like where Charlo, Earl, Terrence, and Josh are. Better BF. Well, NUA starting from the bottom, I will move up to where Oscar Valdez spot is. Drop Oscar Valdez. I'll move Better BF to the number 7 spot. And everything else on the list looks cool. I'll put Shakur down to number 10.
Okay,
that's my thoughts on that.
Okay, check this out. The reason that NUA is at a solid 10 for me is because he's at that lowest of the low weights, right? But to me, the fact that they're trying to draw him in without considering many of the competing even American fighters down there, it kind of says to me that there's an agenda there with him, and that's okay. But remember, the Thunderous Top 10 is not always about who's best, but it's also how they impact the sport of boxing. These fighters who are all on this Thunderous Top 10 list impact the sport of boxing very much at this present time. And so Artur Beterbiev, who we finally saw return to the ring, can't wait to see him again. To me, he's the most exciting guy because everything they're trying to say about Mr. Berlanga, this guy is the real deal. And with, you know, what is it now, 16, 17 fights with 16, 17 knockouts, Artur Beterbiev has got to be one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport of boxing. Oscar Valdez, being where he is like Arturo Gatti light, and also someone who can fight. And his knockout victory over Miguel Berchelt, nobody saw that coming. And it was exciting, Reggie. It was explosive. And like, no one had done anything like that to Berchelt. And for Valdez to be able to get that type of victory like that, he did something that when we start talking about this group of fighters being a part of the Thunderous Top 10, remember, it's not a pound for pound list. Stormy's look at these men and how they impact the sport of boxing, who around that weight class, including the now missing Gary Russell Jr., has kicked in the door like Valdez done. That was a victory that was like purposeful, and I want to see Valdez again, Reggie. That's the thing. That's how he's left that type of impression, and that's what these men are supposed to do, and that's what's not really happening, which is why you've seen a huge drop in this rating group for Jermall Charlo. When he started doing that backpedaling stuff after he was the one that called out David Benavidez, even his brother, Reggie, had to say, I'm not my brother. You understand? Those words spoken by his own brother says more than anything anyone has written in the press, anyone who has commented on the panels and channels and everything else. Those words coming from his own brother really pontificate what's possibly going on with Maul. And even though no one who has pound for pound lists as far as the boxing scribes, they don't have him on their list, I think he is a pound for pound fighter and a dangerous fighter, but he dropped significantly on this list because of that backpedaling. And that allowed Tank Davis to move up a little bit and Shakur to move up a little bit. Those two are probably 7A and 7B. 7A, 6A and 6B, I'm sorry. And Shakur, because he's very much capable and in a position similar to Gary Russell was, where guys are now trying to vacate and leave. And there are rumblings that Jamel Herring may go ahead and fight him after his fight that's coming up. And if that does take place, great, because that's what we want to see. We want to see these men competing like that. And I don't believe Shakur would let us down, but Gervonta Davis very well may, because as good as he is and exciting as he is, remember, we're talking about the impact that the fighters leave on the sport. Gervonta Davis is a knockout specialist, but keeping him out of the ring for extended periods of time leads him to the opportunities of bad things happening in his life. He can't help himself and he can't stay out of trouble, which is why they're supposed to keep him fighting. But the thing is, they are picking the fights that they put him in there with. It's like they don't want to risk anything. And I think it has more to do with his size, Reggie, than it does his ability to fight. Because Gervonta can fight, but he's such a little dude that somebody is going to take advantage of that in a fight with him and just outbox the heck out of him. And I think that that's what they are worried about. I don't think they're worried about him losing, like he can't get in there and beat someone. I think it's his size. I think that people will look at him and be like, you know what? He really ain't that big. Let me use my reach and use my boxing ability, keep him at the end of my punches, and that'll be that. I think that that's what it really is. Now, getting to number 4, who seems to be locked solidly in at number 4, that's that Josh Taylor, man. And we're getting ready to see him very soon. And we will find out exactly how good Josh Taylor is in his unification fight. But I think he's the real deal. He may be the best fighter out of the UK. And Josh Taylor is tough as nails. And winning that tournament was not an easy thing to do. So I can't wait to see him again. He's been away from the ring a long time. That first round stoppage that he had against that Thai guy, that wasn't, much to see from him, but I can't wait to see him again. Terrence Bud Crawford, he's lucky he hasn't fallen a couple of more rungs off of this list as far as I'm concerned, because there are rumblings behind the scenes now that he had actually turned down the fight with Pacquiao, where Pacquiao has signed for it. If that is very true, he deserves to drop from that top spot that he is, because if you were chasing Pacquiao all this time and they finally wanted to make a fight with you, get your butt in the ring and stop talking crap and fight. But are the whispers true that he really doesn't want to fight anybody? Well, go sit down somewhere, throw the belt away, and go sit your butt down in Omaha and let boxing proceed on without you. Because I'm not going to sit up here and try to defend somebody or talk good about somebody who don't want to be in the doggone ring with nobody that's good. And you prove me wrong. And you can get mad all you want to. Don't nobody care. huh? Because you act like a big old child out here, and people support the sport because they want to see good fights. We can't always get the best fighting the best, but we could get good people fighting one another, and you don't even want to participate in that. So sit your butt down somewhere, Bud Crawford. Earl Spence Jr. at number 2, moving up ahead of Terrence Bud Crawford, and probably well deservingly and over deservingly so. And he's looking to even get stronger as he comes back and has brought Blu-ray, his trainer, back in, his fitness trainer, back into the mode, which a fitness trainer can get you in great shape and condition and all of that, make you revving and raring to go. But that's not boxing. You got to box in there. And there's one guy that you can't box better than right now, and that's the man that's at number 1 spot, and it has been calling for him for a long time, and that's Jermell Charlo. Man, this guy right here, Reggie, is the best fighter in the sport today. He is the most championship-like throwback that we have presently. The man can fight, he can box, he can punch, he can move, he has a decent chin, he has the right attitude, he always wants to smoke, whether it's there or not. He'll start the smoke, he'll finish the smoke. He carries his power from first to last and final bell. He can come from behind and win. He can win early on. He can win in the middle rounds. He can knock you out, and has proven that he can knock you out with any punch in his arsenal. He can knock you out with a jab. He can knock you out with a straight right cross. He can knock you out with a right hook. He can knock you out with a left hook. He can knock you out with an uppercut. Okay? This man has the full tools in his box. And it's going to take a hell of a fighter to beat him. Huh? And as Earl Spence talking about becoming undisputed welterweight, you better go ahead and do that and work on that all you can. Because if you move up, you better not be moving up there trying to fight this man, because he's going to knock your head off. Okay? He's going to knock your head off, Earl Spence. Do you hear what I'm saying? So make your way through the welterweights, clear that out, and hopefully Mel Charlo will go up there and try to be better than his brother. Okay? But don't rush yourself up there, because you don't want no parts of this guy right here. This man is the truest of the true in the sport of boxing. He has done it against named fighters, knocked them out. And that's how you can tell a quality fighter, when they're knocking out the opposition that's supposed to be at their level. Not decisioning them in close, razor thin decisions, controversial, leading toward possible potential rematches. He's out there knocking people's heads off, sleeping them. And he has proven he can come back from a loss. Let's not forget that, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? He has a loss on his record. But not only did he come back and beat the man that they gave a decision over him to, but he stopped him. No questions asked. No judges involved. That's how I like to see it done. And that's my thunderous top 10, Reggie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's good stuff right there, man. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. But let's get on into, Reggie, what's coming up for this weekend, man. We got this big old fight that everybody been talking about. But I don't know. We can spend the last part of the show talking about these guys. Let me know what you think is going to happen tomorrow night when we see Saul Canelo Alvarez take on Billy Joe Saunders, man, for the WBC, WBA, and WBO Ring Magazine super middleweight title.
I want them to get in a fight and act like they fighting for that stuff if it really means something. I want to see Billy Joe go in here and give it his all. Fight his type of fight against Canelo. Make Canelo have to do everything to come after him, because everybody's saying like it's on Billy Joe to have to go after for the champ. And I kind of reject that thought. You know, we've been taught you got to bring it to a champion. You just got to fight your fight. I mean, we understand the judges may see it that way, but Billy Joe's putting in enough work of tagging Canelo without getting hit as much, not letting Canelo land clean punches. If he is that elusive as a fighter, he can move pretty well, land his shots on Canelo and try to break Canelo down. Put some pressure on Canelo, move Canelo around. He does have a knee that has been, worked on multiple times. Put it on Canelo, move around, see what you can do. But Canelo's going to be a tough person to pull that with. And Billy Joe, I think, been making some mistakes by trying to get up under the skin of Canelo, I can't knock Canelo too much because, like he said, he functions like a fighter is supposed to. Is calm and relaxed as he is, it ain't nothing that Billy Joe is doing to really rile him up. And sometimes you waste all that time and face off and also in weigh-ins getting amped up, and then you come into the fight and all that energy is exposed. I mean, all that energy escapes from you. Like, you don't come with that same kind of energy you have during the other meetups. Mentally, you have depleted yourself. You ain't got that same kind of fight getting in the ring. And hopefully Billy Joe doesn't come and do that. He still goes in here. He lays out whatever the plan that he knows he has to go in there and do. But also, he has to be respectable of Canelo, because Canelo ain't no punk.
One second, Reggie, hold it right there. I just wanted to acknowledge a super chat that came in from William Old School Ardent, and he sent it while I was doing the Thunderous Top 10. I didn't want the brother to think that I skipped over his super chat. I was just trying to finish that Thunderous Top 10, but he reminded me of his super chat donation, and I wanted to read it out for him. He says, Stormy B-Man, great show again, brother. Thank you so much, William Old School Ardent, and we really appreciate your super chat donation to the channel. Thanks again. Go ahead, Reggie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Billy Joe has to take this guy serious, because Canelo ain't no easy walk through the park. He can fight. He can definitely fight. He can definitely punch and crack. So Billy Joe's is going to have to be on top of it, watching it. Looking at them in the face off, I thought Billy Joe would have had kind of the hide and reach advantage, but they almost look like they're the same height. So he's going to have to be elusive, work off the jab, try to catch Canelo. Just try to catch Canelo, but he also has to watch out about getting himself caught, because Canelo is great at making you pay for what you miss. He is great at countering. He's pretty good. With swift fighters, if Billy Joe's footwork is as swift, they got clips of him looking cool, looking elusive, but those against lesser tier opponents, is he going to be that elusive against Canelo, who's sharpened up on his punches, his accuracy is a little bit more tight? Can Billy Joe get out the way? And we're going to see who is who and what is what in tomorrow's fight. But the other thing is that Canelo has been here. This ain't going to be too big of a stage, 70,000 people in front of you. Ain't going to be too big of a stage for Canelo. It's going to be something different for Billy Joe. Does this moment get to Billy Joe once he comes in there? I'm pretty sure it's going to be a large contingent of Mexican fight fans that are there, where they will outnumber what we typically see at British-born fighters. Is he's not going to have that hometown advantage. Neither will he have that hometown feel with 70,000 people packed into this Cowboy Stadium. Under these bright lights, under these different type of bright lights, is the moment going to be too big for Billy Joe? And that's what I'm worried about. But hopefully they can keep his mind into the fight, and he fights his way through it. His last two fights, I ain't like the way that he looked. And even in that one fight where he got the late knockout, that guy was exposing him. So hopefully he doesn't come in here, deliver a dud to where it looks like it's another fighter taking a dive for Canelo. But we're going to see what we get out of this one. But my prediction, I think Canelo may take it. I think Canelo may end up stopping Billy Joe with body shots.
Well, I was listening to the weigh-in when I was driving, and I heard them talking about how great of shape Billy Joe looked in. I did not see them you know, how they look on the scales and whatnot. But according to what they were saying is they haven't seen his body look in the type of shape that it's in a while. So maybe these guys both got a chance to do their, you know, little extra stuff that they do, which I ain't going to say no foul words, but you guys understand what I mean when I say that. But I also find it interesting because against one another, their strengths as well as their weaknesses may be exploited and nullified at the same time, because neither one of them is extremely athletic. Okay, neither one. And the two of them have sort of what I would consider offsetting advantages. Billy Joe may be a little more mobile than the average UK and European fighter, but he's not necessarily the most fleet of foot. And his hand speed is kind of average, if not just a notch above average or whatever. But what's going to play here is his confidence. How confident will Billy Joe really be in this fight? Because at some point you have to fight Canelo, moving on him, you know, giving him angles and everything. That doesn't necessarily mean running around the ring, but you have to make him lift his feet. If Canelo has to pick his feet up when he's trying to come at you, you should be hitting him when he's picking his feet up to move. And then when his feet is planted, you should be moving. So it's like there are things that they can do to one another that are offsetting. It's going to be a fight more than most fights you ever watch. Which guy is going to have the advantage and impose what he does best on the other? If Billy Joe gets into a position where he can become more confident, because he's going to have the butterflies. There's no doubt about that. He could say, oh, I fought in the Olympics and whatever, your amateur career, you fought in big crowds or whatever. It doesn't make the same sense as when you're facing this guy who has a huge following from the media and all of that. It's like they've ordained him that. It's not necessarily his mere accomplishments, but it's the status that has been handed to him. And that's what you're up against. But once you get beyond that and the fists begin to fly and you've taken shots and given shots, it becomes who really wants it the most. Now, we know just from what he's alluded to that Canelo is looking to extend this fight. Okay, because he's thinking he could catch up to Billy Joe in the later rounds and get rid of him. What Billy Joe has to understand is if he's planning on doing something to you to get to you in the later rounds, you have to do enough early to offset that. Meaning that if you're out on points and everything early on and it gets to the later rounds and he's behind on the scorecards because of your efforts, now you can set traps for him because he has to become a little more desperate. And he comes a little more desperate, then you can start to do things to him that he did not necessarily want done. He wanted to be able to dictate the tempo and everything late. Well, if he's got to try to catch up to you for a knockout, you can run him into shots. And that's where the mobility factor comes in, killing the clock, doing things, pulling on him, pushing on him, tug of war with him and everything, hit him low a few times. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta dog him. You gotta be the man in there. Can Billy Joe do that? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of his fights to see if that's in him. But he has to understand that just like Lloyd Hunnigan did many years ago when he came over here and said, I'm coming over there to kick some U.S. tail. Okay, Billy Joe is going to have that mindset because a victory over Canelo catapults him into the stratosphere. He can't imagine what it would be like. Yeah, he could talk all day till the cows come home, what he would like to do and how he feels his mentality, he can be victorious, this, that, and the other. It's a far cry from actually accomplishing it and what's going to come with that. So can his corner, the people who train him and prep him, can they prepare him psychologically for that? That's a question that's on the table. I don't have that answer. I don't know enough of him to speak on that. But when fighters are fighting at this level, you have to take it away from the guy who has the name and the claim. A guy like Canelo is great to put him on his ass. Put him on his ass early. If you put him on his ass early, that begins to put doubt in his mind, because he's like, what the hell am I doing down here? He's supposed to be down here, not me. You understand? He's already at a deficit. But see, that's the kind of thing that a fighter who comes to win puts himself in position to do. And again, no one has the greater jab. No one has the greater combinations. Canelo may have a little bit better upper body mobility, but it won't come into factor if he's chasing Billy Joe. Okay? If he's trying to hit Billy Joe and Billy Joe is stepping over and giving angles and turning him and doing things, that can frustrate Canelo. We've seen it happen before against Lara and Floyd and what's the other brother's name that fought him, Reggie, that gave him, that they had a very close fight. Help me out.
Trout or Laura?
Not Laura. I said Laura, but
Trout.
Huh?
Austin Trout.
Trout. There you go. Austin Trout, who was giving him trouble. And again, you don't have to do a whole lot, but do a little bit and do it well. See, that's the thing. You can't do it all in one round. You can't do it all. You know, it's like, but work on things in there. It's like, oh, you want to frustrate him with that movement, make him pick his feet up. Okay? Meaning Canelo. Canelo's a good body puncher. But if you're stepping around and giving him the angles, he get ready to punch to the body and you gone already. Huh? We saw him fight that Smith cat, and the guy had a huge reach advantage and wasn't even using the jab. Just letting him walk in and hit him to the body. That was the most ridiculous thing. It looked like a setup. And if Billy Joe has allowed himself to come in a setup type mode, then you UK fans and supporters should never watch boxing again if that's the type of display he puts on, because you should be angry at him for that. Like I said, I don't know him enough to know his character. I know he just got a mouth, and I don't like that. You know what I mean? But if he has character behind having the mouth, and he can actually put that into fruition as a fighter, huh? Go out there and smack Canelo in his mouth, cut his eye or something, and start talking to him. You ain't nothing, you sucker, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's what you have to do in these type of fights. But can he do that? I don't know. What I do know is, like I stated earlier, Canelo has already put it in his mind, this fight is going to be difficult, and he's looking to have the advantage later. Well, the thing about that, when guys kind of reveal stuff like that, you have him thinking like, oh, you might not even make it to later, huh? You take that away from him. You take it off the table. So as far as how I see the fight, if it goes to a decision, Canelo probably gets the nod. But can Billy Joe win a decision? It really depends on if he's able to implement what I stated that he needs to do. Make that man pick up his feet and follow you. You see, Danny Jacobs was in a position to do stuff like that, but Danny Jacobs fought like a guy who was just happy to be there and fought safe. He didn't try to win. Will Billy Joe try to win? I'll tell you something. With everything that he has going for him, and there's some things behind the scene that he does have going for him. If you guys don't know what I mean by behind the scenes, you need to study up on him a little bit more. If he can put out, if he can endure, if he can get some things going, this could be it for Canelo as far as being that guy on the top. Because, you know, you can try and throw darts at the board so many times, eventually you're going to really miss that target. But I expect it to be a fight for as long as it lasts. If one man decides he don't want to be there or just want to make it through and survive, that's probably going to be Billy Joe. And I say that typically because that's how guys submit to the guys with the big names in the sport. But you can show me something different. But I expect Canelo to possibly come out on top. But Billy Joe is a live dog in this fight. And if something happens early, he gets a great cut on Canelo or he hurts Canelo or something like that, this can turn on Canelo very quickly. You know? So it's like I'm looking at it, but I got it kind of 60-40 for Canelo. But it wouldn't surprise me if Billy Joe won the fight. It wouldn't surprise me. And neither guy is my guy. So it's like that's how I'm putting it out there. Those are my thoughts. You got anything to follow that up with, Reg?
No, and I can agree. I agree with everything. I can agree on the 60-40 as well.
Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of how I see it, man. So, but we'll be back tomorrow night for a post-fight show. Get you guys involved in that late action of what transpired in the fight. It's been a great conversation here, Reggie. Please let everybody know where you are, and don't forget to leave your link in the chat, and let everybody know where you at. Give us your final thoughts.
Yes, indeed. You guys can catch me on Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens on both channels, main and backup channel. And once again, thank y'all for coming through and joining this great boxing talk. Don't forget that post-fight tomorrow. And if we get a Billy Joe, that's going to make it exciting because there's going to be a whole lot of crying if Canelo loses tomorrow. So it's going to be exciting post-fight.
Yes, it is. And I think, you know, in spurts, it could be an exciting fight within itself because these two guys, they do offer up, you know, like I said, they do things to offset each other's strengths. That's the one thing. And let's just face it, Reggie, there was one good thing. You could say Billy Joe got under his skin this week. He did. But can that be transferred and parlayed into having a good fight? See, that's the other part about it. Ali used to talk stuff and entertain and everything, and he'd go out there and perform like he was Fred Astaire. You know, he was the top billed star as he was. There are guys who talk a good game, but don't bring the fight up to half of their talking game. So let's just hope that this fight turns out to be what we would like to see it be for the for the evening. So. But yeah, that's all we got for you guys at this time. We're going to head on out of here, get you guys ready, get some rest, and be ready for the fights tomorrow night. And we'll catch you guys then. This is STORMYBMAN for my man Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. We're going to sign off for now. Peace to everybody out there in the chat. We'll catch you tomorrow night. Have a good one.